Welcome back to the Pleb Underground. You know the deal. I'm your host, Phil. We are the most hated Bitcoin only YouTube show in the space. That's right, guys. We've got an awesome guest today. You may remember her. She has been on the show before. I am talking about Kit Sats, and we are going to be talking about her most recent venture called Golden Tallow. That's right, guys. We're going to be talking about Golden Tallow, and we're going to be talking about all of, kind of Kit's views about the space and everything, right? It's 2 years later, right? She's a different person. We're all different people, and we are going to discuss all of those intricacies. But guys, you know the deal. Before we dive into that, we're going to show some love to the Pleb Underground sponsor, and I will be right back with Kit. Here we go.
Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium.
All right. Welcome to the show, Kit.
Thanks for having me back. Hello.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been, so we were talking about this before the show, right? It's kind of been a long journey. So you and I met back in 2022. And that was the year that Nico and I were speakers at the meme warfare panel at the Bitcoin conference. And that's where we met. Now, since 2022, though, you've had like a huge change. It seems like a total 180. And let's just dive into it. Do you care to explain, before we dive into the Golden Tallow stuff, do you care to explain what your role was at Bitcoin? Was it the Bitcoin conference or Bitcoin magazine?
Kind of both. So yeah, I'll dive into that. And I started off as a contractor, helping them grow their social medias. Mostly Instagram on like Bitcoin magazine and the conference a little bit. And then Justin Duchin was really great and helped me get into a marketing role so I could leave some government contracting job that I was in, which was really awesome. And so I started doing digital ads. I did a lot of the podcasts, contracts, affiliate marketing. I helped a lot with the emails, a lot of that stuff, but a lot of the digital ads. So it's kind of everywhere. And they eventually like hired help, and I focused more on the digital ads for a while and the emails. And then at the conference, I went around and I took a bunch of photos because I used to do like a lifestyle blog and photography. So that was really fun.
That's cool. I'm still trying to figure out, so my impression at the conference was that you were our liaison. I don't know why, but that's always how I framed it. I'm like, yeah, Kit, helped us and told us what to do and where to be and where to go.
Yeah, that's true. I was so much,
that up.
It was so ingrained in the community, and knowing everyone too, I felt like it just bumped around like into people, like walking around the conference being like, oh, that helpful, as much as I could be. I loved working there. That was cool.
You did. Okay. I was just going to ask you. So now that you're not there anymore, you don't owe them anything. What,
right.
What was your, so did you really enjoy working there?
I did. Yeah. Only good things to say. At the time that I ended up leaving, they were starting to do certain other things. So it probably worked out better because like, I'm not a fan of a lot of like the ordinals and different random things like that, but I don't know much about that kind of stuff. But I'm very much like Bitcoin only in the cryptocurrency like space. I don't need, of course, Bitcoin, not crypto, kind of. Exactly. For sure. And it's been easy. You buy and you hold, and then you like get slowly get rich. It's not like a quick overnight thing. I didn't buy in 2014 when I first heard about it, but if I had, then yeah, it would have been like, I got more into 2019 or so. But yeah, I loved working there. It was fun. It was very flexible, like working 100% remotely. And the thing is that my coworkers were all really cool. It's different when it's everyone likes Bitcoin and we all pretty much have the same values. We might have different opinions, but everyone respects your opinion because everyone is so like into freedom of speech and they respect that. So it's just nice.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And just to point out, so David Bailey does secretly watch this show because
nice.
sometimes I get comments. I just want to point out, see, David, we Kit is here and she's saying good things, right?
Yeah, they actually brought me back to help out with the whale section. I volunteered, so that was cool. They flew me out, and
when was that, last year?
That was 2023. A couple months after like they did all those layoffs and stuff. So definitely ended on, good terms and everything.
I was at that one too.
I like passed the mic around in the whale section, and I saw David, said hi. It was cool.
Yeah, that conference has gotten absolutely massive. In 2024, I feel, well, I shouldn't say I feel. I mean, it was apparent that it's essentially become a big business conference, right? Like, there's no room for a pleb stage anymore. I think the closest thing you get to a pleb stage is the open source stage, which obviously I hope never goes away, because to me that's become almost like the last vestige of Signal at that conference, so. Yeah. Okay, so you left Bitcoin Magazine, and it seems like you switched gears. So what happened after you left Bitcoin Magazine?
Yeah, so I tried to go back into tech. I applied to 800 jobs, and as it's surfacing now, a lot of those positions are ghost jobs, and they're just like mining your data and putting it in a database for them to just have later on or like use in some way. So really how I get a job now is like networking and referencing, like references from people that and so I did that for a while, and I just kind of gave up. I was like, on the spiritual sense too, like you just like release it and let it go, and it'll just work out if it does. But at that point, and now looking back, obviously it worked out really well because I started Golden Tallow. I also started a rental business.
Oh yeah. Okay, sorry, continue.
It's called Rentality. It's now closed, but I started off with my Buick LaCrosse and Onturo, and then I built out a website. I got commercial insurance that I never used. That was really expensive. It was like $3,000 for that. And I was gonna rent out my car and then get other cars and do paddle boards and all these like fun luxury kind of experiences where you could order packages, and like I would set the car up for like a camping trip because I was in Colorado at this point. But then and at the same time I was designing the logo for Golden Tallow. I did that myself. And then I sent it off to a designer to like solidify the AI files or like the .ia, whatever those are. I'm not a designer. But then I had to design the jar, the box, the product box. I had to find vendors from I get a lot of stuff overseas. Hopefully soon I'll be doing more US based boxes. It's quicker, and just of course supporting the US. And now with the tariffs recently as well too, it's just cheaper maybe to get it here now. Before it wasn't. And so doing all that, setting up all the social medias for all of those, got the website up. It's through Shopify currently. So as we were talking a little bit before the show, I can't edit the website as much and customize it, but I do accept Bitcoin. I'm going to add a little note at the bottom on the homepage that I accept Bitcoin. I use the company OpenNode. That's what I know some other people use as well too. And I'm not sure if the VPN messes up if you're not in the US and it blocks it or not. So if you're trying to pay with Bitcoin on goldentallow.com, make sure that your VPN is in the US because it potentially may or may not. Yeah, that area.
While you're talking, I want to show your website. Yeah, so we were talking about this before, right? We couldn't see the we couldn't see that you're using OpenNode for Bitcoin payments, and that's down here on the main page. But you do see it when you check out, right? So that's the difference, because I was kind of surprised, right, that we couldn't see it. But honestly, Kit, this is a really beautiful site.
Thank you.
I was expecting something a little bit more like what I produce, and which obviously not this polished. I went to the website and I'm like, damn, this is really nice.
Yeah, me and one of my best friends, Pablo, at Freya One. He's a photographer. If you need any good photography in DC, I've known him for 8-9 years now. We took a lot of the product photos together. That was super fun. His girlfriend also does photography and stuff too. So, a little shout out to my best friend.
All right, we got some comments over here coming in. It doesn't take long.
Oh yeah, nice. Hello everybody.
Long. Here.
Nice.
I don't know. I feel like this is like a Chateau person or something like that. I don't know. Or it could be Copper.
I was thinking it was Copper.
Right?
It probably is. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't have the background. I'm sorry.
All good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Here, sorry, I got eyes. There we go.
I'll have to come back on the show next time and put his background up just for Copper.
Sight is almost as beautiful as your smile. All right, guys, come on. It's about Bitcoin. It's about business. Okay. So what you were just talking about, right? It kind of made me think of, because we were talking about this before the show, right? Like there's been a lot of changes, right? There is the kit that was before, and then there is the kit that's now. And as you were explaining it to me, right? Like it's like we kind of go through this. It's not necessarily a purification process, right? But it's kind of like the baptized by fire. Right? Like you go through it, and then the person that exists on the other end is not the person that started off at the beginning. So for all of this to say, right, it almost seems like you had your own moment of being introduced to your other self. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
There was a lot that went on. So I left Bitcoin magazine and then trying to find a job and everything. But at the same time, 3 other really terrible things happened. One, I had to move because my unemployment benefits actually ran out sooner than was on the website. It said a certain date, and I thought the money would run out on that date, but it wasn't correlated. So it was off by like a month. And I didn't like go in and be like, oh, like this week I get this much and like plan it out. I just but that's the government for you, I guess. And so I also lost my mom and my dog at the same time. So these were just like dark periods, and like I don't know, it changes you as a person with how you think about life, and life is so short. And like I got to bet on myself. I got to start golden tallow before my mom passed away. She had a gallbladder stone that ruptured, and it just like dragged on for a year, 2-3 years. It was a lot. I came back a lot to help her and stuff like that. But, seeing her in that stage definitely reminds me to like keep my health up. And sometimes it's just inevitable, like certain things happen to you no matter what you do. But like you got to try your best, stay in shape, work out, eat healthy. I'm on the carnivore diet, of course, for other things. And that was a happy mistake as well, too. And yeah, I just feel like I look at life in the sense of every day isn't necessarily guaranteed. So you got to thank God when you wake up and like roll with it. You got to bet on yourself. And I listen to a lot of spiritual content, and I listen to audiobooks. I think those 2 things have really shaped me in a way too. I really believe like what we internally think about all day, and our identity and who we think we are and our assumptions that we make. You really gotta like be careful about that, like because you can wobble between like positive thoughts and negative ones, and then you're just gonna stay like in this like where nothing's really happening because it's like evening out. But if you're on more positive side and focusing on what you want, that stuff's gonna happen. And that's kind of what I've been thinking about. But sometimes, like, before the show, we were talking about this too. Life is going to test you. It's like maybe, even stuff from childhood that you want. I grew up in college. I wanted a business, this and that. I always told myself too, like when I leave Bitcoin magazine, there's no way I can go back to corporate because they ruined me on it. It was just too fun working there. Going back, actually, I did go back to University of Phoenix for like 6 months. Briefly. I didn't apply, it just popped up. An acquaintance got me the job. So I was like, okay, well, it's fully remote. Maybe I could like do both, like golden tallow and like take this money and put it into ads or this and that type of thing. But it didn't end up working that way. It was too time consuming. And yeah, also to mention at that same time, I was doing more gig work. I was doing dog sitting. So really, you got to do everything that you possibly can to make it. I've always been interested in, y'all don't hate me for this, but like the stock market and stuff.
Oh
Like,
no, not
I
stock.
know.
Oh no.
Oh,
All
no,
right, guys, we're
no
cutting this
technical
short. All right,
analysis.
did we say
But-
stocks? We meant Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah. But it's like 10% of my net worth it's like play money, like at that point, but 90% is Bitcoin, obviously. So I was doing a little bit of that as well too. I got in at like, some of the ones I shouldn't mention, MicroStrategy and whatnot. We won't go there though.
Treasury companies. Are you also earning yield? Are you doing the Misty thing?
No.
All that stuff?
Shout out in what was it? 2019, 2020. I was in like BlockFi, and shout out to Sean Stacken for getting me out of there, because that would have been absolutely detrimental and awful. So yeah, shout out to him. I don't know if he's active on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while. Definitely haven't seen him in a while. A lot of really good accounts are no longer there. Yeah, and being in BlockFi definitely teaches you some lessons. Granted, the stonk market is a little bit different. There's more regulations. However, right? However, there is still lots of risk involved. Right? Especially when you're dealing with something that has, net asset value erosion, and, the fact that essentially all of their money comes from essentially selling covered calls. So it's, it's one of those things where these strategies work very well. There's gonna be a lot of hate on this. These strategies work very well in a bull market, right? So this is the thing. In a bull market, everyone's a genius. Okay? Yeah. It doesn't matter whether you're buying crap or not. You're a genius. The real thing happens. You end up finding out what you're really capable of in a choppy market or in a down market.
Right.
So it's like, yeah. But to your point, right? You got to do what you got to do, and I can hear it, right? Like, you were introduced, to your other self, right? This person that doesn't know failure. It's very interesting. So
having delusional almost about it, but it's not delusion. It's like knowing that it's going to work out. Yeah.
It's interesting how, people, we don't want bad things to happen to us, but something I learned when I was very young is that everything happens to everyone.
Yeah.
So to your point, right, about, your mother, all we can hope for is good genes and good luck. And the rest is our habits, but that is the basis of it is good genes and good luck. And then, we eat as best we can, we exercise, we try to think, as well as we possibly can. But the point I'm trying to make is that those situations, as much as we don't want to go through them, they are what helps us become, or at least it helps us learn about who we really are, right? Like, who are you? Like, it's a very interesting thing, right? Most people go out every single day and they have no idea who they are. They've never actually gotten to know themselves. What are they really made of, right? And unfortunately, going through adversity, if you allow it, will teach you that, or it will allow you to be open to receiving that. So
right, yeah,
I think up to you for that's essentially the allegory, or the metaphor of the alchemist, right? Turning lead into gold. People actually thought it was physical lead into physical gold, and that just goes to show how stupid we are as people. It has to do with the lead of the spirit turning into the gold of the spirit, so to speak, or in our case, the Bitcoin of the spirit.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, that's my long rant. But just to say that I'm like really happy for you that you were able to recognize what was happening. You chose the path to learn about yourself, and now you are this other person that came out on the other side. So props.
Thank you. Yeah. You have to like tear down your old self, and like the old story might like pop its head into your life, but you have to ignore it and keep focused on the end goal of what you want, and keep going until it shows up.
You have like a number one fan here. The point I'm trying to make is that Kitty's the best. I've had all year. I appreciate this.
They're the
I
best.
That is awesome. Okay, so on this note, right? On this note, we're gonna take a look at some tweets that Kitty put out. So Bitcoin taught you more about patience than therapy ever could. So look, I don't know if I agree with that. But tell me where you're coming from. Tell me where you're coming from on that one, because I feel like that one's personal.
People always think my tweets are personal, and I put it in my bio that it's not. A lot of it's I don't go to therapy and stuff, so I'll make a lot of therapy jokes, and it's just because it's like funny and relatable. You know what I mean? So a lot of my tweets are like that. Maybe part of the tweet I resonate with. Maybe I just thought it was funny and like, oh, this might go viral kind of thing. Like, and it, that's kind of how it is. But I do think Bitcoin, depending on when you got into it, for me, 2019 or so, it's taught me patience because, we had that dip from, I don't know, 69 to 15K. And I've had to wait a while now for it to go back up. We're all near at all-time highs now. But like, I mean, I don't want to diss on therapy because I don't really know much about it. And maybe some people do need it. I will say, if you can't afford therapy, I think ChatGPT is a really great way to deep dive into your psyche if you don't mind like sharing that type of information with something like that. But it can definitely help you analyze things and go deeper into like whatever thing you're trying to figure out. I know a lot of people are using it that way, but I don't
self-help.
Yeah. There's a lot of books out there.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm not a super fan of therapy in just in my sense, but it's not for everybody, but some people might like it and enjoy it. I think like with anything, you have to like search around for the right person. It can take a long time. That's kind of the same thing with like medicines. I don't take any medicines, so if I joke about medicines online,
I mean,
you have to take a lot of different medicines, make sure which one works for you, side effects, this and that. I just don't believe in any of that. I feel like you should like work out, eat right. If you're like building your relationship with God every single day is number one. Things are just going to happen in your life that are good and make you happy. And I feel like a lot of mental problems that people have, they're trying to make it something physical, but it's not really. It's more of like a meditation or a spiritual problem or some other, like your thoughts are dirty and you got to clean the, thinking of it as like water, like your water needs to be filtered out, kind of thing.
You're talking about the medical system. It just made me think of something that I learned a while ago. Essentially, our system boils down to three things: cut, burn, and poison. Like this is what we know how to do, right? We know how to cut, we know how to burn things, and we know how to poison them. But to your point, right? Like, so this is where therapy gets really interesting. And of course, right, I'm biased on this particular topic. My wife is a therapist, and I was actually, before I switched to a technical field, that's actually what I was going to do. Imagine me as a therapist. I can totally see if people are like, holy crap, I would never go for that. But essentially, though, you hit the nail on the head, right? Like about the thoughts. And the problem is that a lot of people, like a lot of us, like, people have a hard time getting out of their own way. And you don't, in some cases, realize that your thought patterns are simply feeding your thought patterns, right? So if you wake up every single, and it's so true, it's as corny as it sounds, okay? As corny as it sounds, if you wake up every single day and write down 3 things that you're grateful for, just that slowly rewires the brain out of negative thought loops. But it sounds ridiculous, right? Because it just sounds so simple, but we just don't realize how simple little things like that really do help us out.
Yeah. And I feel like there's 2 ways I think about it: the like scientific way, and then there's just like based in reality. Then there's the woo side of all of it, right? So like self-sabotaging is on this side, where like if you have negative thoughts, you're going to make bad assumptions in a certain situation and say things that you don't mean. But if you had positive thoughts and you just were like, oh, not taking it personal this or that way, you would react in a different sense. So that's kind of like based in reality. But then the other side, the more fun side, in my opinion, is the woo side, is like everything internally is being expressed into the 3D. It's just a matter of time of when it's going to show up. Like very specific things like I've experienced, I'm like, oh, this is going to happen. And then it does, kind of thing on that side. And I could talk about that for a long time, but a lot more people probably can understand, self-sabotaging, changing your patterns and what you do. And, that I guess therapy could help in those kind of senses. But I like to take the more spiritual route of thinking of things because it's more fun for me.
And to your point about therapy that you made earlier, right? That you have to find the right person. This is very important. Like you got to imagine, right, from the perspective of the therapist, right, that person deals with people's problems all day long. You know what I mean? So the amount of burnout, like the amount of like, let's say, shielding that a therapist has to do, the amount of self-care that a therapist has to do in order to be able to do that work is, because obviously, right, that there's some people, I know as corny as it sounds, like we don't want to believe it, but there are some people who are energy vampires, right? Like people don't want to imagine that or believe that, but you may have somebody like that in your life, right? Like where essentially they get propped up by sucking your good energy out, and it's pretty crazy. But essentially, like this is kind of one of the things where not every therapist is going to be the right person, for you. And you really do have to pick somebody that understands. And in some cases, maybe even has gone through some of the same challenges as you. And that also is what makes it difficult. So it's totally not a one size fits all thing. And I just wanted to add one thing here because Bunny made a comment. I try to be a forced optimist stoic. So you know what?
I like that.
Yeah, it's like at first it's forced, okay, and it takes time, but after a while, right? So
it becomes natural. It
becomes a rhythm. Yeah. Have you ever? I don't know if you've ever read. He's a self-help grifter, but the messages sometimes are really helpful. Napoleon Hill. He wrote a book. He wrote a few books, right? He wrote Think and Grow Rich, and then he wrote another one called Outwitting the Devil.
Okay. I started that one. I didn't finish it, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
And it's essentially a conversation. It's a conversation with the devil, right? Where he essentially asks the devil what tricks the devil is going to play and how he can beat the devil at his own game. And the devil, right, understanding human behavior goes, I'll tell you every trick and I'll tell you every way to get around them, and you still won't win. So it's a really interesting book, and it taught me a lot about rhythms, about rhythm and patterns in our lives, right? So this goes back to what you were saying. If every single day you wake up and you think the world is too heavy, right, and everything is too hard, then that's what it will become. It over time, that is exactly what it will become. But if we decide to look at every single one of these situations, see them as opportunities and challenges to overcome in order to learn about ourselves, right? So that we could become those better versions of ourselves, that changes everything.
Yeah,
So,
it really does. I feel like
I don't know where the hell I was going with that, Kit, but it's just, we're having this good conversation about therapy and stuff. So it just made me think.
I love it. Like it's, hopefully this helps someone on here.
Right?
In the beginning, if you are struggling with stuff, I feel like I don't know if it's corny or whatever, but the, positive affirmations, putting them on repeat. I tell people this a lot. You can record it on an app called Parrot. It's your own voice recorded, and you can just listen to it, 15 minutes a day or as much as you need. Some people are at different points in their life where, their water is like more clear. Maybe it's medium. Maybe it's very muddy. If it's very muddy, you might want to put it on repeat. You might want to sleep with them on or something for your subconscious mind. Some people do that. I don't know if that necessarily helps. You don't really need it, right? You get to a point, like that's the starting point. At the end point, you don't need any of that. You just are on auto, but it could take a long time. It depends where you're starting at. It could take years. if you've had a very traumatic life, it could take 5 or 6 years. Like, this isn't like a get well overnight program.
No.
Like, you can't, it doesn't work like that for most people. Some people can do it in a couple months if it's very minimal of what they're working through, depending on what it is. But yeah, like, I feel like affirmations are a really good starting point. Some people like to journal, or there's other different kind of things that you can do. I don't like to write. I write handwritten notes in all of the golden tallow packages right now, and I put it on the packaging slip and, like, a little thank you note, and it's chicken scratch, so I'll try to work on my calligraphy, but it is what it is.
At this point, you could just get like these nice pre-made marketing ones that look like you wrote so fancy and it looks real.
Yeah, that's true.
You might want to go for that.
Yeah, it's nice for now. I am gonna make little flyers, and I'm everything I make in golden tallow right now is being reinvested into it. I'm upgrading the jars. I already got a little sample. It's glass. It's frosted. It looks really nice. I just got these little packets to put my notes in, so in case, like, I'm shipping with dry ice, it doesn't get wet or messed up or anything like that. Oh,
Kitty, here we go. Kit, you've got somebody who's willing to do it. Kitty said he'll do it, or she'll do it. I'll write those notes for you. I'm pretty sure this is over. I'm pretty sure it is. I can't.
I think so. Yeah. I've been tagging him in all the Justin Bieber posts that keep popping up every day.
What the hell is going on with that? Everybody's seeing. I'm not seeing any of this. All I see is, in all fairness, all I see is crap about Bitcoin treasury companies. Hey, you know what? Switching gears. What are your thoughts on paper Bitcoin summer? Are you liking the direction we've gone into? All the Bitcoin people, like so many of the Bitcoin people that we started with, right? They're all about freedom. We don't want slavery. Ooh, shares. Like what the hell happened there?
So all of a sudden, me, like I mentioned, 10% is like in the stock market. I don't do, scam coins is what I try to say. I try not to cuss, but it is what it is. Okay. And then 90% is Bitcoin. So, like, I mean, I've traded a little bit of that here and there, but for me, Bitcoin, one of my favorite parts of it is that I have a seed phrase. No one can take that away from me. I can just, like, burn my seed phrase or, like, do this and that with it, and no one can have it. Like, things have happened to me in my life when I was younger that this is, like, very important for me, and to have that control, like, it's just the control aspect is very important to me. It's a very big FU kind of sense. Like, what are you going to do? I don't have anything. You melted it all away with this fiat currency. You keep printing everything, and it's making me mad because it made me realize that I wasn't the problem in dating all the time, a little bit of the time, but, like, a lot of guys don't want commitment because they can't see a future because they don't have the money and this and that. And, maybe that's not everybody. Maybe I should just start dating different people, this and that. But it does affect, like, a very large portion of the population. And if, like, the money wasn't messed up, it would be easier to date and find someone and this and that. And then, of course, like, I got sick eating all the seed oils and all the processed food. I was trying to eat deli meat the other day, and the top of the roof of my mouth was peeling from whatever was, like, in that. I'm like, this is crazy. I guess I can't even eat ham or bologna, which isn't great. But, like, every once in a while, like, as a little quick snack, I don't know. So, yeah, it's a very, like, I see what you did. And now you're never getting my money. Like, this is the way I'm going to, like, stick it to you, because, like, you can't just do that. Like, who do you, like, it's just mind blowing what they did. So I
got to be honest. I am totally thrilled. I've never been so much happier to be married than watching society the way it's going. I'm like, I just see people, like, I see single people online, and I see stuff like that they're doing, and I'm just like, I don't have to. And again, I'm not trying to flex or anything like that. I know what it's like. I hated dating. Like, I was one of those people who was like, I remember I got to the age of, like, I think I was in tech school, and I was like 22 or something, 22 or 23. And I had just come to the conclusion. I was like, you know what? I've had such terrible experiences dating. I'm just going to be single forever. And I kid you not. And I had started on this road. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to save up, retire super early, and, go and have fun. And then of course, right, that's when the universe, you know, or God or whatever it is that you want to call it, like steps in and goes, no, you're doing something else. And then of course, right, that as soon as I gave up and was like, that's it, I'm going with the wind.
Yeah.
And then I met my wife. You know, like, so yeah, I don't envy anybody dating right now. In terms of the you can't see not you, but some of these guys that you meet, you know, they can't see the future or this and that, right? Because the money's broken. In all fairness, the money was broken 20 years ago too, right? So the guys, right, the guys that are using these excuses, I know it sounds terrible. I was using those excuses to myself, right? Like this is, and it's going to sound even minor again, but this is the type of shit that people were saying in the 1920s also. So as much as we think that today is so different, it's actually really not that different. And really what needs to happen is that a person needs to choose.
Right.
Like that's exactly what it is. And I'll give another example. So when I first got out of tech school, I had it in my mind that I could not be profitable. I had it in my mind that I was, for whatever reason, my karma was to always break even in life. I don't know why. This is just what I believed, and this is how I acted. And I kid you not, kid, I always just broke even. And it was crazy. I'd get up to the point where I'd save for like 6 months or something like that, you know, for my first job, you know. And then all of a sudden, right, as soon as I'd be all excited, I'm like, hey, I'm finally starting to get ahead. Boom. Some weird payment would show up out of nowhere that would all of a sudden bring me back to break even. And I shit you not, the second I stopped thinking like that and I started to think differently, that pattern started to break.
Yes. That's like the woo side a little bit, but it's also the other side too, where it's self-sabotaging opportunities. You said yes to the right opportunities instead of saying no. Yeah.
Proof is your success. That this is something I learned a long time ago, and I've always stuck with it. And then it's like after that, it's like always able to just go into, you know, whatever job or whatever it is, and just be like, this is a tool. How do I use this tool to maximize it, you know, as much as possible?
Yeah.
So yeah, right there with you, totally. All right. Speaking of the happiness, right, and the building and all of that good stuff. So this was I told you about this, right? This was look. You know, some people say they don't like to read the comments and stuff. I also don't like to read the comments. However, I do like the happy comments. Right. I like to see the hey, I really appreciate this, or, you know, and this is super nice. Right.
This made me tear up. I was like driving and I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh. And it definitely makes it worth it, because there's a lot of business struggles out there that, like, you know, I've told my friends multiple times, I'm like, man, should I like just stop this? And then it's like, oh wait, no, I can't, because I, for multiple reasons, I don't want to go back to corporate, but I also like can't in certain things, so I have to do this. So it's like, no, just push through it. So this like made my day for real. It's so nice to know that it's having a good impact, especially on, you know, younger people too. Like it's hard to be young and have acne and not feel comfortable with yourself and not have that confidence, because that bleeds into like your future and your adult self. So I think it's really nice that this like really helps out in a huge way.
I'm very curious. I feel like is this possibly like a teenager or something, just because the acne and the face redness, like, you know, everybody's a human. If you were one of those teenagers growing up with acne, like you know what that's about. Okay. Like people, I think that people can't really, like, for the people who didn't have acne growing up and were fortunate enough to have wonderful skin, like it's really, as a kid growing up, like it impacts your self-perception and your self-worth, and it's like all you see. So yeah, just curious, is that like a teenager or something?
I'm not sure what age that person is, but you can get acne throughout your whole life. I thought it stopped at a certain time, but there's like hormonal acne, and then there's like a different kind of acne where it's just like from oil and that kind of stuff. And tallow is not great for everyone's acne. You got to test it out a little bit. So
tell me, how did you, I guess, like, why did you choose tallow, and how did you make this connection between this, right? Like skincare products, tallow.
So being in the Bitcoin space, of course, where everything spawns, I saw Clara and Fritz, their company, and I just kept seeing really good things about tallow. I was a blogger from 2016 to 2022, I'd say, and I worked with over 300 brands, and it was a very big blog. So lots of people would send me skincare. I've tried hundreds of different face masks and serums and lotions and hand creams and all the things, even like, things you put on your feet and tanning stuff. Anyway, so I love trying new things. So I was like, oh, let's just give this a go. And it blows everything out of the water. The way that it made my skin feel, I like it. Some people think it can be greasy, this and that way, but I like the moisture. I have a little bit more dry skin. It's really good for dry skin, and it's a similar. It absorbs well into your skin because it's tallow, so it's like beef fat. So it goes into your skin, makes it very glowy, but it makes it very soft when it eventually does like fully rub in. You don't need a lot of it. I don't know if maybe some of these people were globbing it on, because sometimes with the traditional products you have to use a lot of it.
Yeah.
But this, you can use like a pea size or size of a quarter, and use that plus your neck.
So did you did you go out and find like studies or something like that about this, or like I just, because like for me it's just like, it's like, how did that happen? Right, it's like you're just walking and all of a sudden you're like, tallow.
I really think, and honestly, there's been a lot of things in my life where the timing has just been miraculous, that God definitely sent it at the right time. And it was early on. I was still working at Bitcoin Magazine when I ordered from Clara and Fritz, and I was just like, oh, this is so cool. I didn't like the scent as much, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I could make this at home and change this and that. I wasn't thinking at that point that I was going to start a business with this. My whole thing was like, if I was hoping, be at Bitcoin Magazine for however long I possibly could, until Bitcoin like went to like a couple $1 million, and then be like, hey guys, I kind of want to go hang on the beach a little bit more than like, but I might even still worked then. But I always told myself that I was going to do my own business whenever I left Bitcoin Magazine. And it's just crazy that I had that jar. I was still using it. It was probably maybe 4 or 5 months later. It was probably at the end of the jar. And I was like, man, like I love skincare from doing the blogging. I've put content out for skincare for years now at this point, reviewing everything. This is just such a good product and ingredient. And I was like, looking around at the space, seeing a lot of cow logos that are pretty silly on everything. And I noticed that there wasn't many luxury brands there. And I was just thinking, oh, like these cow logos might be good for people who don't mind it, like farmers and this and that, or I don't know. But the luxury niche could really start to bring this mainstream and put it into like all households who want this and don't want to think about a cow and putting it on their face at the same time, kind of thing. So that was my angle on it, and it's been working out pretty good, but it's been slow up until recently. And shout out to Neil Jacobs of FOMO 21. He got me back on Twitter, so shout out to Neil on that.
So that's why you came back. And I noticed your Twitter's totally different than before. But hold on, before we get into that, like now your Twitter's like super engagement. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I used to be a little unhinged.
So Stack Bitcoin Show, or Roman, is asking, why did Kit leave Griftcoin Magazine? That's his words. He,
Yeah.
Bitcoin Magazine, not Griftcoin Magazine.
I got laid off. I don't think it was technically like I wasn't fired, but the same difference, I guess, ish. But it was on good terms, and they laid off a couple other people. I'm not exactly sure on the exact reasons. It was a couple people, contractors. I was full-time, and I'm not exactly sure exactly why, but it was around the FTX crisis. So my assumptions on this is just that happened, and all of our sponsors for the conference got hit, so their marketing budgets kind of went away, and they were just kind of trying to balance out money management at that time. That's all I could think of. I'm not really sure though. So yeah.
definitely it's not fun when that type of stuff happens.
Yeah, but I mean, it worked out because I'm gonna be like $1 million skincare business soon.
Oh, you know what? That's actually what I was going to say. So when are we going to see Golden Tallow on like and this is going to be for the boomers on like QVC or like the shopping channel, you know, or something like the Home Shopping Network.
Yeah. So I have one product right now. It's whipped tallow face cream. Opulent facial elixir is the fancy name for it. And I have a background in business. I went to college at in Virginia at JMU, and I went to their business school, which is at the time was one of the top 10 business schools on the East Coast. And my degree was in entrepreneurship as like a little bit of the minor, so business management, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship. So I had a class where I did some startup research, and we even put out a product with a little group. It's interesting. We try to make batteries, like rechargeable batteries for like your phone. It was way overcomplicated for some college students to like try to hand make that, but that's what, you know, I don't know. Anyway, so I have a background in all of that. So I like to read a lot of books about business. I like to watch YouTube coaches, and one in specific, Alex Hormozy, he has a book, $100 million offers, 100 million leads. I read all of these. Thank goodness, because take advice from someone who's in the spot that you want to be in, not someone who doesn't have a business, you know, because so many people want to throw their opinions at you. And it's like, no, you don't understand like this, and this. And I'm not one to explain myself anymore because I've learned like as, you know, trying to be a classy lady, you just don't explain yourself at a certain point. And so there's a lot of reasons why I did a bunch of different stuff. And I've had advice from people on different things, on, you know, the price points and how to market and how to grow. And one of the things is that get really good at selling one product, because why are you going to have like 10 products? And then like it cost me probably seven grand to put out this first product because of the quantities I had to buy from the manufacturer and this and that. And then shipping cost more in the summer. It cost me like $50 or $60 to ship in the summer because I do dry ice and then I have a coolant box, and you know, it has to be overnight. And I'm still learning a bunch about shipping. That's a whole beast in itself. But then I recoup some of the costs in the winter, and I'm always trying to improve the product. So, you know, you're investing in a business that wants to like continue to give back to the customers. But I do have some products in the pipeline. I want to look into sunscreen. I haven't used a tallow sunscreen per se, but there's some legal sense around it since it's considered a medicine, I think. I need to research into that a little bit more. But that's one thing that I would like to put out. I'd like to put out shaving cream. I've gotten requests for that a lot. The thing with shaving cream is that I want it to come out of one of those aerosol cans and be all fluffy and nice and foamy. So I've watched a lot of videos on how the machines process it and create it. And that's a whole big thing. I'm doing all of this at home right now in my kitchen. So it's not like I have a facility or all this money to buy like $4,000 thing. The next machine I'm going to get is a jar filler. I was piping it in with a cupcake icing thing before. So a lot of love went into a lot of the batches recently that have been created. And then also maybe a dry ice machine. So different things like the aerosol machines will have to wait for the future. I also got an induction machine, which puts little foil caps on the product to keep it more fresh. And then if it does melt at all, it doesn't spill out. I did have I'm still buying the correct sizes and things. The ones that I got for the lids, they're very, very precise. If it's not on perfect and it's just slightly off, it could melt and come out. So getting bigger sizes of that, it's a whole learning process of every single thing that you do. It's pretty wild, but it's fun too. And when you nail it, it just becomes easy. But at first it's scary. Right? Yeah, it feels really good. At first it's like frustrating and you're going to break down and scream in your car, but then you get over it.
everything we desire is on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, and it's such a weird thing to grasp,
but it's true. It's like everything that you desire is on the other side of that fear, right? The other side of that fear, the other side of that doubt. You had another question from one of the people in the audience. Roman is asking if the tallow needs to be refrigerated. Well, the skin cream needs to be refrigerated.
Right. So tallow melts above 75 degrees. So it depends on what temperature you keep in your house. We usually keep the temperature 70, 71. So it's okay on the counter. But if you put it in the fridge, it'll last longer. You can also freeze it. I freeze all of this before it's shipped out so that it preserves it and it gets there. And then it's usually like you can see like some of the customers' pictures. It's usually kind of like in the form of it being a little whipped. Also, if it does come melted, you can take a hand mixer and whip it back up. It doesn't hurt the product in any way or the nutrition's in it or anything like that. But yeah, it could probably, on my website, I have it laid out on my FAQ page of the storage times and temperatures and things like that. But on the counter, I've had tallow last up 6 months, 7, 8, 9, you don't want to use it when it molds because there's no preservatives in it. So if you start to see little black spots on it, don't use it, of course, and toss it out and get new stuff. But up until that point, tallow can last.
How do we get you? How do we get you into like Target or Sephora or something like that, right? Because let's face it, like that's right.
Yeah.
It's like this is what it's all about, getting the prime shelf space in the prime locations. Like, have you begun that journey of looking into that? Or...
Yeah, I have pitched some boutiques. I went really hard on that last summer, and then I actually had a few sales guys who were supposed to help me out, but that didn't work out. I had like 3 people who were going to like go around. I bought business cards and different things. I do have a wholesale plugin for Shopify that I've set up. But a lot of the boutiques either had tallow or it was like you had to rent out the shelf space, and it was more consignment, and I wasn't super sure about that. And then, some people don't like tallow per se, like estheticians, they're very split if they like it or not. So you really have to find the right customer, and it's a lot. Like I just ran out of time to like pitch places, but I definitely want to do it again. Doing wholesale is really like bread and butter. But at the same time, I think that this pace has been going well because I just got that induction machine, and certain things like that you want to have when you sell to wholesale. So I'm just refining the product until a point where I feel like the quality is like very good, because I just did my jar design again. I got a new product box. It's all updated. So I'm feeling better about putting it in a store, but it's so new and people don't understand like the amount of time it takes to like perfect a product like this. That's so like just from ground zero. It's not like, oh, I slapped my logo on something like shoes, like Nike shoe, and then I sold that. Like it's not like that. This is like I created every single aspect of this product from scratch. Never created a product before, and we're just YOLOing it every day, like figuring it out, leaving it to God.
Is that what you're saying? You can just do things?
You can just do it. You can do things. You can just buy Bitcoin and do nothing, or you can do things.
You know what though? It's funny that we say that and make it sound facetious, but the reality is that I think over time, right, we forget that we can just do things.
You can,
right? Like it's like, look,
a lot of people are tired. They're tired from their 9 to 5s, and that got me. That's why I had to quit that University of Phoenix. I expected I'd be able to like do all of it, and I couldn't.
You have to give 100%. It sounds like it's so true.
You have to lock in.
It's true. Because to your point, right? This goes back to like how we think in our intentions, right? So if your intentions are split, right? If they're split, well, then all of your energy is split. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
Like you don't see it. So that's why, so to a certain extent, right? This is also why, even in my case, it's like I quit my normie job to do Simply Bitcoin. And then after that, I left Simply Bitcoin, and I'm like, you know what? The normie job, it'll always be there, right? And I know it sounds crazy. People are like, no, what are you talking about? AI is going to steal our jobs.
Let me tell you something. There will never be a shortage of work that people don't want to do that they're willing to pay other people to do. So I'm really not worried about not following my dream and going back to a job. What I am worried about is not following my dream and going back to a job. So I'm like, no, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to do this. And if I go down with the ship, then so be it. Right. Yeah. But I want to, right. It's like, you want to shoot your shot. Right. Like, why not?
You should keep, if you want to do this, you got to keep at it. Like I've had many things. I did it. My very first LLC was a dog bakery. And then I created a logo. I got the LLC paperwork. And then I started to bake in my kitchen. I was like, oh, I don't like baking. And then I let it all dissolve. And then later on in life, my friend was like, you could have just outsourced the baking. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. But now I see these like dog bakeries on Instagram where it's very like luxury and stuff. And I was like, oh, that could have been me. But it was,
so look, in all fairness, though, it's going to sound mean. I'm going to make some more haters. A lot of those dog bakeries, because I have 2 dogs, right? 2 little dogs, and we spoil them like crazy.
Yeah.
All of the treats are crap. Okay. Yeah. Those treats, they look great. Okay. They all look great. Everything is hard as a rock and has no flavor.
Yeah.
Don't ask why I know it has no flavor. I'm just telling you, all of it has no flavor.
Yeah, so, totally.
So I don't know. I think you did a good pivot. I think
God led and guided me for sure. Yeah. It's been that.
And I mean, come on, like skincare products, right? Like think about how big that addressable market is. And I understand pets are a huge market too. But I would argue that more people are vain than, in terms of than people having pets.
Yeah.
Right. They're more, I think that people are willing to spend more money on themselves, specifically with skincare and beauty products, than they are on their pets, which again, there's still a very high bar. Because people are spending a lot on their pets. But yeah, I think you did a pivot, solid pivot.
Yeah, that was 2016 timeframe. Then I've done like a meditation podcast. I did that blog. I did the rental business. There's probably other things I'm forgetting about in there. So they say it takes quite a few times to figure out what you want to do. Yeah.
You know what?
Stick with it.
To your point, I actually just figured out, because I still haven't registered a company for Pleb Underground. I'm still I want to come up with a proper name for it, and I just thought of it yesterday. It's taken me 3 years to come up with a name. Yeah,
that's the hardest part.
But
that's totally
because
it
sucks.
Because then you can't really do much of the other things. Like you got to make sure all the social media handles are available, and that it's an LLC that's available. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats on figuring it out. That's exciting. I feel like that once you do that, you start seeing it as a business. I feel like, I got QuickBooks and that made it real.
Yeah, definitely having spreadsheets and QuickBooks makes it real. You know what also makes it real? The expenses.
Yeah.
Real.
And trying to make those expenses back. That's for sure. Yeah. Trying to figure out like, oh, I have 500 units in this batch to sell it. Yep.
And that actually, speaking of expenses, that's something else I noticed where I was thinking incorrectly. So my entire life, when I would go and buy materials for anything, I would sit there and think of what the cost was, the cost of those materials. I wasn't thinking of what those materials would bring me, right? Like this is what it's costing you, but what can it do for you? And again, it's that like that kind of like it's like a poverty mindset, right? You're sitting there and looking at something at how it costs instead of looking at what it can do. So again, all of these little changes, it's like it's just part of being a human, right? Part of being a human and learning.
The rich people buy back their time, and one of my favorite things that I've been doing is getting Instacart now. It saves me so much time. I don't like going in the grocery store when all the people are there. It kind of gives me anxiety. I don't like it. And trying to get out of the parking lot with all the people backing up and all this. It just saves a lot of stress. And then I want to talk about like following like what your nervous system is telling you every single day and relaxing your nervous system. So if you can save time and relax your nervous system, you're going to win.
I love that. And I think not enough people appreciate that. They don't realize how much cortisol is freaking pumping, how much adrenaline is pumping.
you know what? This wasn't supposed to be some type of like a medical show because we are both like, I'm definitely not a doctor. Kit's not a doctor, but the reality is that we exist in a constant cycle of, and I say we, I'm talking about people in general. We exist in a constant cycle of flight and fight. It's a constant anxiety driven cycle, and it just burns a person out.
It does. We're bombarded every day with like a million decisions. So we also have like decision fatigue.
Yes.
And you just lay down and you're like, oh, I'm just going to sleep.
Like, you know what? It's like you get so confused. You get so confused. You just want to go to sleep.
Yeah. You're scrolling on Twitter,
Oh, okay. So doom scrolling on Twitter is you know what? I'm coming so close. I think it's going to happen at some point in the near future. I'm going to retire the Coin Icarus account and just have the Pleb Underground account. I feel like my personal account is like, it served its purpose. It's like, I've had lots of fun and like, it's, I've clowned a bunch of crap with it and stuff, but at this point it just,
well, don't nuke it like me. Don't do it. I had a very big Twitter before, for anyone who doesn't know. I mean, it wasn't that big, but it was like 18,000 people, and it was starting to ramp up. I was starting to get haters, which is when it's getting good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love haters. You know what, though? You know what's great about the haters?
I love my haters.
Oh, yeah. No, I love it. You know what? The haters make me better, but also they make me realize one of the things I learned from haters is that you can actually figure out who is completely full of shit, okay, by your haters. Because because right, like you actually, so that's the interesting thing, right? Like there's obviously what is accurate and there is what is not, and it's interesting because there are some haters, right? And to me, like those are like critics who genuinely criticize you, and you learn from that criticism, right? Like I can give an example. There was a person last week on Pleb Underground, like, okay, every single tweet that I put out, I'd always say good morning and go F yourself, right? GFY. And for me, like that was fun, right? Like that's just fun stuff, right? It's just kind of like a little bit edgy, and at the same time, it's kind of, for me, it was fun. But you know what? Increasingly, like people started to tell me that they just didn't like it, but more specifically that like it's not even that they didn't want to engage with it, but it didn't even make them feel good, right? And to me, that kind of criticism, that's not a hater. That's a person who's genuinely in their own way actually trying to help you. And hey, look, you don't have to take everyone's advice, but I was like, yeah, I'm like, I can see this and this makes sense. And so I just simply stopped using the GFY thing because it's like, you know what? It's like I've grown out of this, right? It's like
the culture has changed.
Yeah, and then
it's definitely shifted in the Bitcoin Twitter space. There's a lot of people who don't know certain toxic things that we used to, certain chains that we would have going. That's how I got my job at Bitcoin Magazine.
Right? You remember?
Slap an H, if you know, you know.
Right? It's like, and now it's like they look at us like some of these people and they're like, why is everyone in Bitcoin so angry? All these older Bitcoiners, I saw somebody put out a post about like OGs always being upset. It's like, number one, most of us are not OGs. Okay. Like number two,
they're gone.
It's not that we're upset, it's being toxic.
Right.
It's just understanding that you have no tolerance for BS. That's all.
Right. And then it does get it to a point where so many people aren't listening to what you're saying, like trying to give them this life hack to Bitcoin, and people aren't listening, and they're calling you a scammer and like saying mean, nasty things to you. There's only so much you can take after a certain point, I think, that like you don't say some of these things back, but you shouldn't say it back. But it became a thing in culture, and it just was what it was for a few years. But I'm glad that we're not saying certain things anymore too. But it was fun when it lasted for a little bit. Whatever. It was just laser eyes until 100K. Stuff like that was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time. It was organic. It's definitely, to your point, it's a whole different feeling today. A lot more corporate. And that's double-edged sword, right? Double-edged sword. This is part of the growth. There will always be grassroots content, grassroots people, people who genuinely
still come to Bitcoin for the major qualities of Bitcoin, not just the paper Bitcoin summer. And you know what? It's good. It's good.
Have you heard that song? Someone posted it in one of my DMs. I'm trying to think who.
Probably Yellow. It's probably Yellow.
It was Rod, I think. I'll have to send it to you. It was good. Like it was paper Bitcoin summer. I was jamming out to it for a little bit, and then I
know which one it is, but yeah, please send it to me so I can make sure. I'm also working on Yellow and I don't want to spoil it, but we're working on. It's not really me that's working on it. I just gave a bit of an idea, and Yellow's running with the ball because he actually has creativity. But we're definitely there's something that's going to come out for
like a song.
Like a song.
That's gonna be good.
It's gonna be look, it's gonna offend some people, of course, right? It's gonna offend people. Feelings will be hurt, right? Feelings will be hurt, and stonks may go down. Yeah, Kitty, sorry, Kit. It's because I keep reading the name on the side, Kitties.
My nickname was Kitty when I was younger.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah.
Anytime I see your name, though, I think of the X-Men and I think of Kitty Pryde. Yeah, I'm a nerd. So
that's a new one.
Superheroes. Look up Kitty Pryde. She's pretty cool. She actually has some pretty dope superpowers. I think she was the one that could walk through walls. She could walk through solid matter. Pretty sure. Yeah, right. I'd want that. I'd want to be able to do that. Go save people. Be a hero. But yeah, Kit. We're gonna wrap up. This hour just like totally flew by. But before we do, I love having you on the show. I really look forward to having you on again. But before we close it out, tell everybody where can they find Golden Tallow? Where can they find Kit on Twitter and all that good stuff? And obviously, all of this information is going to be posted in the show notes, guys.
So shout out to everyone who listened. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. You can find Golden Tallow on the official website, goldentallow.com. I'm on Instagram. We have a small presence on Facebook. I don't try too hard there. Definitely X, huge on there. Pinterest. Sign up for our newsletter for 10% off. And I'm also on Reddit. Not so much on LinkedIn, but it's all like at Golden Tallow for everywhere. And then I'm at Kit Sats, just like that on Twitter. And yeah, thank you so much, Phil, for having me on. This has been super fun, and we should definitely do it again.
Oh, we will. We definitely will. And let's see here. One last comment here from Kitty St. Maxi. I look forward to being in the chat again too. Okay, you're no problem. So look, your fans absolutely love you. And again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, that's gonna do it for us for today, for the week. The week of Pleb Underground. Get ready next week. More fire, more signal, right? From the most hated Bitcoin only YouTube show. That's right, guys. Have a great weekend. Peace.